Okay, it has started now. Fine. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay, so of course, along the way there are some challenges, and I'm sure some of the challenges are like the one I mentioned. When average Gambian sees them collecting rubbish, they will think that they are mad. Hey, Kimom Dofla, what is he doing at this dump site? That's what they will think. That's their perception. They'll say, "Ndesan, look at him, Ki Dofla." You know, when you are not deaf, you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. Okay? So, I mean, perception. Okay, but of course, the benefits outweighs, so many benefits, income, of course, and then the most important thing is the environmental protection and so on and so forth. The last words of Madame Cisse say, if there are no better climate, we cannot live better, and if we cannot live better, we cannot work hard, and if we cannot work hard, there is no development. Okay, those were her last words. Okay, we are really touching. Okay, so if we don't work to improve our environment, there will be what? No better climate or no better environment. And if we don't have a better environment, we cannot live better. And if we cannot live better, we cannot work hard. And if we cannot work hard, there is no development. Okay, this is true. Okay, so we've done our discussion, and okay, when I send this, then you can watch the video on environmental management accounting. Okay, so we're going to start our EMA, environmental management accounting. Now we know what is our environment. We know the problems that are faced with our environment, and we know how to fix those problems, as we can see, on the video, and of course on a couple of slides ago. Okay, so now we have to do the side that we like most. That's the accounting bit, environmental accounting and environmental management accounting. Okay, so if we know the environment, we know the benefits and the risks associated with environment. What will be environmental accounting or environmental management accounting? Simply, what do you think will be environmental accounting or environmental management accounting? First, you have to start by describing, in fact, what is accounting in relation to managing the environment. So what is environmental management accounting without looking at any definition? Can anyone have?
Okay, management environmental accounting. You look to you look at the environmental cost associated with production we do, and what type of materials are used, decarbonized or decarbonized materials.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that does make sense. That means environmental accounting will look at environmental cost. Yes, that's true. And of course, some of those costs could be cost of waste, cost of greenhouse gases, and so on and so forth. Okay, but what is environmental accounting itself? You've described one facet of environmental management accounting, but what is environmental management accounting, if you want to summarize it? Abdulaziz? Janko Jete, are you with us, Janko?
Yes.
Yes. So just in your own words, what is...
Sorry, I don't hear you.
I say, in your own words, what is environmental management accounting?
It's the process of measuring the cost that incurred in the management of the environment.
Okay, measuring of costs incurred in money. Yes, that's correct. But if you want to define environmental management accounting, it is simply, what is accounting? What is accounting? Accounting is the provision of useful information for decision making. Okay, so what is environmental management accounting? Environmental management accounting is the provision of relevant information on the environment for management decision making. Simple. Okay, what is accounting? Accounting includes what? Recording, analyzing, all about, of course, why are we recording, why are we analyzing, why are we summarizing, why are we all doing that? Because we want to provide useful information for decision making. So environmental management accounting is all about provision of environmentally related information to management for decision making. Okay, so that's it. So of course you will read, you will have different, you know, the environmental accounting is a broader one, of course, and the environmental management accounting is a subset of the environmental accounting and so on and so forth. Just like I've explained, it is all about provision of useful information for decision making. Okay, so we got to go a bit fast. Same, but then different definitions. You can look at it. Okay, so let's look at categories of environmental costs. Okay, the most important facet of environmental management accounting is about managing environmental costs. It doesn't mean that as a result of environmental management accounting, you will not be able to report environmental benefits or environmental revenues. Of course, you will you know, come across environmental revenues, as we will see when we do our, you know, carbon trading. Okay, so it has got both sides, the costs and of course the revenue. So the categories of environmental costs, the first category is the prevention cost, environmental prevention cost. Okay, this is the cost of activities undertaken, the activities that are undertaken to prevent the production of environmental problems, things like waste, things like greenhouse gases, and so on and so forth. Okay, and a typical example has been given here. In a situation whereby you have a food manufacturing company, you know, that uses, you know, machinery to produce its food. So if those machinery are not of high quality, what's going to happen is there are loads of waste, and those waste are going to cause environmental costs. So, but if the organization acquires highly technological machinery, of course, the waste will either be minimized or maybe eliminated completely in some cases. Okay, so that's environmental prevention cost. Okay. So the detection cost, environmental detection costs, of course, is cost to ensure that the organization complies with regulation and voluntary standards. Okay, so for example, a typical example is let's assume that there is a regulation in the Gambia that, you know, utility companies must not, you know, emit greenhouse gases, huge tons of greenhouse gases. And in order to meet that regulation, what do? You have to invest in facilities that would discourage the emission of greenhouse gases. Example, the solar system. You know, this is what is happening in the West. In the UK, for example, if you use solar lighting system for your house, you know, the government kinds of give you some benefits. I remember when it initially starts, when they were encouraging, you know, people to use the solar energy, I think around 2000, who benefited a lot from this, from the UK government. Okay, it was optional at the time. Okay, so it's like once you invest in it, the government subsidizes it, and the more you use it, the more you get some benefit from it. Okay, all that. Why are they doing that? Why is the government doing that? Because they want to control the pollution. They want to control the emission of greenhouse. So environmental internal failure costs. These are costs incurred from performing activities that have produced contaminants and waste that have not yet been discharged. Okay, for example, if at household levels KMC buys bins for people, these are bins that they could put their waste. So this will prevent households to mix the different categories of waste, and then it will bring issues later on. So that's the internal failure. While the external failure cost is a situation whereby the discharging of waste into the atmosphere. Okay, so these are costs incurred on activities performed after discharging the waste into the atmosphere. For example, the external failure cost that KMC can incur will be a situation whereby they can contract a company. I think they started it some years ago, but I'm not sure how far they've gone with that. I think it was an Italian company or whatever. I don't know who is aware of this, but there was a time that there was some discussions with a particular company from, I think, from Europe or so, to take care of the dump site in Bakore so that they can manage it and turn it into try to recycle the rubbish there as much as possible, and also to manage it. I think there was a time that there were some discussions around this. I don't know whether you are aware of it. So, how far they've gone with it. Has anyone known anything about this? Are you with me, class?
Yeah.
Yes, I think last year or year before last, there was some discussion around this. But anyway, if you don't know about it, but that's the situation. Okay, so just to show you that in the Gambia, we are still, lacking behind. But just to tell you also that people are becoming more and more aware. Look at what happened recently, where Pura fines NAWEC $3.5 million. This was just a couple of months ago. Are you aware of this? For not taking care of the environment, for NAWEC doing newspapers. You people don't read newspapers. You are not current. Okay. So this here is the way this was published. I just produced it here, but I tried to summarize the fines. Okay. So PURA, of course, is the regulatory body. You know about PURA, yeah? PURA regulates all the utilities companies in the country. The likes of NAWEC, AfriCell, GAMCell, and so on and so on. So PURA regulates all of them. So PURA is the apex body that is responsible for them. Okay? So there was some issues. I think this was during the rainy season, on the 10th June exactly. This was on the papers on the 10th June. Okay, these are the 3 locations where these serious environmental issues happen as a result of failure on the part of NAWEC. Okay, in Farafenni, in Bansang, and in Soma. And then these are the itemization of the offenses that NAWEC have committed, and then these are the fines. So the total fines went up to 3.5 million. Can you imagine? I don't know whether they paid or they negotiated with PURA or what. I don't know what happened afterwards. But this was the case. It was published on newspapers. Okay, 3.5 million. So, are you concerned as a finance person when it comes to environmental issues? Are you concerned? Are you concerned? Does it bother you if you work in NAWEC, in the finance department of NAWEC? You say, okay, but There is leakage in Bansang, Basse Nawek station, pipes are all over the place. Does it concern you as a finance person? Are you bothered? Should you be bothered?
Yeah, in this case, you have to be, because there are.
In fact, not in this case only, in all cases. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come to you as a finance person. Who is going to pay for this 3.5 million? It's going to come from you, the finance people. Yes, Dumbuya, you wanted to say something?
I said, it's the taxpayers who are going to pay this money.
Yes, it's going to be NAWEC, obviously, but it's going to go through this. It's going to go through finance department. It has got a role, even though the department that will be directly responsible, maybe the sewage or the production department, or I don't know what's the name of the department they may call it. Okay, finance department may not be directly responsible, but indirectly you are responsible. Okay, in the West they say if a prisoner escapes, the Minister of Interior resigns. Did you hear that? If a prisoner escapes in the prison, one single prisoner, if he escapes in the prison, the Minister of Interior resigns. Why? Why should the Minister of Interior resign? The Minister of Interior should resign because he has failed. He should put up strategies in place in that prison that a prisoner must not escape. So the same thing here. If a single thing happens in an organization, everybody is responsible. Whether you are directly responsible or not, it is your responsibility to ensure that things like this are fixed. Okay, so look at this. Serious waste of water due to leaking tank, economic loss to the country, environmental hazard and contamination, failure to remedy poor sanitary environment surrounding the chlorine dosing point. The chlorine is what they put in the tank to detoxify or to treat the water. Okay, failure to repair and raise fallen perimeter fence, resulting in unhygienic condition at the water treatment center due to animal intrusion. Look at that. This happened in Farafenye. Okay, there could be waterborne diseases. We could even kill people. Can you imagine that? Look at the effects. Okay, look at the effects. There was a fence, a perimeter. Going in and out of the water treatment area. So they're gonna, with their droppings and everything, it's gonna affect the quality of water. So if it affects the quality of water, who is going to drink that water? It could be me, it could be you. And waterborne diseases could be very, very serious. The kinds of cholera is a killer. Do we know this? So are we concerned that we should be responsible for taking care of our environment? Are we concerned? Are you with me, please? This topic, and to me, to be honest, environmental management accounting is the most important topic in the whole syllabus because it has a lot of bearing on our life. Everybody. And the issues that are highlighted here are very, very, very common issues in the Gambia. Very common. Generally, people in the Gambia don't care. And, when crimes are committed, people just, people just don't care. They can forgive the culprits just like that. Okay? So please, let's take note of this. Look at all this. So I don't know, maybe you can find out from Pura how the case ended up as part of your research, but this was published on the newspaper. So I don't know whether they will they will use the normal maslaha syndrome. You know, Gambians, we are very fond of this maslaha, crazy maslaha. I don't like it at all, to be honest. Okay, so.
Sorry, Mr. Popo, I don't know, I'm comparing the notes that you sent and the one that are presented here, but it seems there are some differences.
Yes, of course, the slides cannot be the same as the notes, but of course, it's there are a lot of similarities, of course.
Because the case story, you know, in the book you sent, that one is about Volkswagen. I don't know in Holland or no.
Exactly, yeah. So that's to expand your knowledge. Yeah, whatever in the notes, if you bring it in the slide, then it will not be interesting. But what all the how to call it, the writing stuff, the core topics, you know, you have all of them in the slide summarized, and of course you have some case studies scenarios that are in here. Like for example, the case of the of isotocene for the recycling thing is not on the notes like that. So what is on the notes, just like you rightly say, is the case of Volkswagen. Before I used to, you know, talk about the Volkswagen, but that has nothing to do with us. You know, most of us don't even own a car. So if you talk about Volkswagen, you know, you're not doing justice. So it's better to give examples of things that affects our own life in our own country than talking about things that affects other people's life. Okay, this is why sometimes our learning, you know, does not usually have much value, because we usually bring in examples that don't even have any relevance to our life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why. So okay. So with this, we're discussing, like we've been discussing this. What will be the reaction of network management? Of course. What will be their reaction? Are they going to be happy with this?
Do you feel bad about it if there is concern, you know, management?
Sorry?
Do you feel bad about it as a concern, you know, management, or as a concern?
Yeah. In fact, the truth is, if it were other countries, they can even fire the whole management or lie. They can fire them. This 3.5 is a small thing, but the effects it's going to have on the general public, who knows that? Who has measured it? Nobody has measured it. It might have already killed some people. Who knows? Who knows? Waterborne diseases are very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because 75% of the human being is water. We take water than anything. We only take food maybe 3 times, 4 times a day. But water is continuous. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, these are some of these. So, like I said.
Hello,
yes.
Mr. Fovana.
Hello.
To me, 3.5 million is even small, because nobody can value that type of crime. Waterborne disease, we all know.
Yes.
You know, the disease can be with you. You know, it can have side effects in you, which people will not even know. So obviously, that one you don't even value that. No one can value that. So the only thing the management has to pay, in a sense that they have to at least remove all that. Any person who is involved in that should go home. You know, that's my take on that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, true. Okay, so let's go through the how to call it let's go through the slides. So right, of course, we've discussed enough on the effects. I think we have about 10 minutes, so let's finish off the slides, whatever remains. So we look at the reasons for managing environmental costs. Okay, the reasons. Of course, why? So what I'm trying to say is why people are concerned in managing their environmental costs. You know, like I said, even here, people are aware. You know, look at us. We were all kind of surprised as to, you know, the video regarding the recycling in Jao. Not even in Combo, but in Jao. And there are a lot of things that are happening that we might not be aware of. Okay? So now we should know that people are concerned about the environment. Okay? And this is going to increase as we go along. So some of the reasons why people care about managing their environmental costs. First is people want to monitor their carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is the amount of CO2 or greenhouse gases that you emit in a day, okay, as a result of your activity. Okay, people are becoming cognizant of that. So that's why in the West, most people prefer public transports. Okay, most people prefer public transports rather than private transports. So if they want to go to work, they will prefer to jump on a train or a bus rather than taking their own private car. But in Africa, it's different. Okay, in the West, especially in the UK, you know, you can see high-level civil servants, you know, joining public transport to go to work. I have experienced this myself. I have experienced this. I think this was in 2008. Yeah, there was a day I was going to a university in London from my town in Reading. I usually join a train. You know, I usually join a train, an overground train from Reading to London Paddington. Okay, and then from London Paddington, I usually catch 2 trains. Okay, one train usually takes me up to Elephant and Castle. Okay, that's an underground train. So I joined this train from London Paddington. Okay, underground train, a tube train. So when I was about to alight in Elephant and Castle, when I was about to drop, you know, when we arrived at our point, we kind of stood, all the people who are going to drop at that point. Then I saw this tall guy with his bag. He looked very similar to Ken Livingstone. You know, in those days, Ken Livingstone was the mayor of London. So, but I said to myself, no, it cannot be Ken Livingstone because I cannot join the same train with the mayor of London. I was surprised, but on the whole, it was Ken Livingstone. So I was so curious. There was one guy who was next to me. I asked him, you know, I murmured on his ear. I said, "Is that Ken Livingstone, London, the mayor of London?" He told me, yes, that's him. Can you imagine? Mayor of London joining a train, a crowded train, whereby sometimes the trains can be packed full until some people will not have anywhere to sit, some will stand. Can you imagine that? Mayor of London. For us, even our MPs don't want to join the Gele-Geles and even the yellow taxis. Can you imagine this? So I was really surprised that day. Do you know what I'm talking about?
For Mr. Bona.
Yes.
Mr. Bona. For security reason, is it safe?
Huh?
I mean, for security reason, is it safe? For
Very
security
safe.
reason, is it safe?
Very safe. They're not going to do anything to him. Very safe. Very safe. Very safe.
Okay.
You know, there's a saying that if you don't do anything wrong, nothing wrong is going to happen to you. These are people who are democratic. So nobody's going to target them and kill them. No. And you know, unlike US, UK is very peaceful. Very peaceful. You can see prime ministers going to supermarkets on their own, even though for prime ministers, for high level, there will be security, but you won't recognize that they are security. Believe me, I once met, well, not necessarily shaking hands, but I used to work in a workplace called Vodafone. Vodafone is the second largest mobile phone company in the world. Okay, when I was in the UK, during my last years, I used to work for them. There was a day when the Queen and her husband visited us. It's like between me and the Queen, it's like less than 1 meter. Okay, even though she does not usually shake hands with people, she'll put on her white gloves and so on and so forth, with the husband. But you look at that scenario, that scene, there were only very few security officers. And you won't even know that they are security officers because they will wear ordinary clothes. Very few. Queen of all the people. So their way of life is different from our way of life. If a president comes, if the president goes anywhere, there will be so many security people everywhere. But for them, it's not like that. I know there's security conscious and stuff like that, but the way they do their own life, their lifestyle is definitely different from us. So as such, it does not have much, it does not pose much risk to them, in those days also, when Boris is the current prime minister, Boris Johnson, he used to be mayor. He used to be mayor of London before. When he was mayor of London, he used to bike to go to work. Bike. So you see, maybe biking is in fact more risky. Because for train, wherever you go, wherever you are, at least there's CCTV. So if anything happens, they'll be able to catch the culprits. And one thing I did not mention to you, Mahmoud, is in the West, there are cameras everywhere. One place you will not find camera in your house. But even in your house, some people, private people, want to put cameras there. But in the street, if you go out, there are cameras everywhere. So if you do anything, if you target anybody, if you want to kill anybody, you will be caught. So that's one good thing that they have. Okay, so it's just to tell you that the main reason why they do this because they care their environment. Because in those days also in London, there were certain areas that like usually from Monday to Friday, certain times, if you use your private car to go to certain areas in London, they charge you, they call it a congestion fees. You pay a certain tax for going around that area. Why? Because they want to discourage people from using their own cars, discouraging people from emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. Okay? So, we might be there, I don't know, maybe in the next 1 million years, I don't know, but I think we should also change our lifestyle. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we have to stop here because I know some people will be having class. It's 5 o'clock already. So we're going to start our next class from here. We have only a few slides actually to do, but there will be a calculation. So so it's a good point to stop. Okay. But before we stop, any questions or any comments you would like to make? Any comments or? So, Mahmoud, you are convinced now that they're not going to kill him?
This is about a global framework that I told you about, led by World Economic Forum, whereby stakeholders are coming together to put down a framework that will go a long way in sustainability. So the framework is in 2 parts. You have mitigation.